got a little bit mad at God because God, you called me to chaplaincy. You told me to go into chaplaincy, and you let these people play in my face. You let these people really reject me when you called me to do this. Have you ever done everything right? You got the degrees, you networked, you did everything you could do you got the grades, everything to become whatever your goal is, and you still get rejected? I am Tierra Burns, a licensed clinical social worker and therapist, and I currently help clients who feel rejected, who feel like they've done everything right and still can't get where they want to go. But before I started helping those individuals, I too was in that same boat. So I was in the Army for 9 years, and out of those 9 years, I was a chaplain candidate for 5. As a chaplain candidate, I helped the chaplains when they came in. I helped train them, not just on chaplain stuff, but also on the military culture. A part of being a chaplain is you have to get endorsed by your denomination. My denomination only endorses itinerant elders. So I decided, okay, well, while I'm a chaplain candidate, I get endorsed by someone else. And when I meet all the requirements, I will pursue getting endorsed by my denomination. So the time came 9 years later, or 5 years later, rather, the time came. And I put in my packet to get endorsed. Crickets. Nobody respond. I told my mentor, was like, do you want me to say something to the bishop or his wife? Like, I know them personally. I said, no, it's okay. I'll wait, see what happens. My mentor being my mentor, she stepped in anyway. And she went to the bishop's wife and said, hey, one of my mentees, Tierra, she's trying to get endorsed by the denomination. She's not hearing nothing back. Can you help? So then the bishop's wife reached out to the people at the office and they got in touch with me. They were able to answer the email. Um, I'm going to go to the end of the story because they ended up not endorsing me. But the reasons for not endorsing me was not that I wasn't qualified. It wasn't that I didn't do what they wanted me to do. I was the itinerant elder in my district. I did everything I could do. They didn't endorse me because, one, they felt like I didn't know anyone. Two, I didn't have to struggle like they did. What do I mean by that? A lot of females in different church backgrounds, they go through almost this hazing process to be any type of leader. And they felt like I was favored. And so their response was, we're not going to do any favors for her, as if I wasn't qualified. So what did I do? I got out the military. Now, I'm not going to say I got out and it was like, I felt nothing. Everything is okay. No, I was mad. I felt betrayed. And I went through a couple of emotions. First, it was, I'm mad at the Army. But it wasn't everybody in the Army. It was like 2 or 3 people that was at the office that could have helped me get my endorsement. Can't be mad at them because even though people talk about how racist the Army is, it was white male chaplains, Asian chaplains that were trying to give me another way. Like, hey, my endorser will endorse you. Even my pastor that I grew up under as a child was like, hey, you have any problems with that denomination? Come back over here. I'll get you endorsed. But my integrity would not allow me to do that because I knew I wasn't going to be going to those people's churches. So why am I going to get them to endorse me when I know for a fact I'm not going to be a participant? So then I was like, okay, well, can't be mad at the Army. Then I got mad at the church. My friend said, ooh, I was not supposed to say that. My friend said, just leave the denomination altogether. And my thing about it is, logically, I knew it wasn't the denomination. Because again, it was only a handful of people. It wasn't the whole denomination. So logically, I knew I really could not blame the denomination. So I didn't leave the denomination. I stayed in my right, as a minister, but I got out. But I carried the attitude with, don't ask me to do nothing. I'm not doing nothing. I don't want to pastor your church. I don't care if you need pastors. Nope, I'm not pastoring your church. I don't want to do nothing. I ended up pastoring the church though, which I struggle with because I'm good enough to pastor your church, but I'm not good enough to be endorsed, which whole different conversation. But then I got a little bit mad at God because God, you called me to chaplaincy. You told me to go into chaplaincy, and you let these people play in my face. You let these people really reject me when you called me to do this. It's something when you have to look back and also be mad at yourself because in certain spaces where you thought you were safe, where the same person that could have advocated for you and endorsed you decided to talk negatively about you because you told them, um, I didn't want to be a chaplain. I got called to be a chaplain. I was okay being a social worker. I was okay being a commander over a quartermaster battalion. Like I didn't go and say, God, please make me a chaplain. It was a calling just to be rejected. And so I had to really dig deep. And here's what I tell all my clients is look deeper, especially look deeper at the heart, your heart posture. Because sometimes when it like with jobs, with corporations, just like the military, just like chaplaincy, there's gatekeepers. They actually use that word. Like she's the gatekeeper. But you're the bishop. No, but she's the gatekeeper. I have to listen to her. Okay. And sometimes the gatekeeper, whether or not um they outrank you, whether or not they are more qualified than you, sometimes they are jealous of the fact that you didn't have to endure the stress that they had to endure, that you were able to get through different things with ease, that you are connected to people that helped you get through things with ease. And so now they want to be the barrier, the one that if she's really called, let's see how hard she will work for it. Let's see how um, dirty she would get to make this calling happen. But here's the thing. Here's a couple of things. Um, what I will say is I ended up moving to Charlotte. And when I moved to Charlotte, God was telling me to go to this one church. It was one church God told me to go to. And I was like, I hear you, but I'm gonna try this church. So I visited some other churches. God was like, nope, this church right here. So I went on YouTube, I watched them on YouTube, I researched them, all the things. And I'm like, God, do you really want me to go to this church? Because really I was about to go to a church. I had a fresh start. I could have went to any denomination. Any for a moment because I'm a minister, so I had to go back to denomination. But for a moment, I could go to any church. And God was like, no, this church, that's where you go. So on Sunday, I went to the church. I ain't have on no makeup. My hair was done, but I ain't have on no makeup. I wasn't dressed in church attire. I didn't look like a minister. I looked like a strangler from off the street, literally. And I walked in and they were all nice. They were like, hey, da 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 da. Church is almost over, but you could go and sit down, blah, blah, blah. I said, okay. And I told her, I said, I'm here to join the church. She said, you're here to join the church? I said, yeah. God told me to come and join the church. She was like, praise God. And the other people out in the foyer, I didn't even get to the church yet, in the sanctuary yet. So we got in the sanctuary. The lady stops. The lady stops the pastor and was like, she wants to join the church. And then he says, okay, well, praise God. Come up here and join the church or whatever. But everybody was nice. Everybody I encountered was nice. I didn't have to walk out. So I got up there, had my bag. I took out my bag, handed them my papers that said I was a minister and all that good stuff. So then they shouted over having another minister on staff. Cool. Um, but what I wanted to see was what is the heart of this church? Because coming out of what I was in, I needed someone who uh, would value, would care for my being and not just my doing. There's a lot of you out there that you're going from place to place, whether it's job to job, whether it's friendship to friendship, whether it's ministry to ministry, church to church, and you are wanting people to value you by what you are doing instead of allowing people to know who you are at the core of who you are without even showing your hands. I think a lot of times it's hard for Christians to love humans as beings instead of what they do, because we don't even love God for his heart. We love God for his hand half of the time. And so I want to give us some things to think about when we are rejected, when we feel abandoned, when we feel like our calling is in question, when we start to doubt our own calling, when the gatekeeper tells us no. Let's think about these things. One, don't confuse the gatekeeper with God, because the gatekeeper can tell you no based off their feelings, but God's command, God's purpose for your life will still be on your life no matter where you go. To be aware of spiritual gaslighting. The gatekeeper, one of the things, her thing of not endorsing me was that, well, you didn't want to be a chaplain. You wanted to be a social worker, commander of the unit that you was at. Like, at the end of the day, like, this was like your backup choice. No, this is what God called me to do. Well, you don't have this like amazing story. Like you got to tell people like, oh, well, I had cancer and God healed me from cancer. And I told God, if you heal me from cancer, then, oh, I'm going to preach your word. Like, everybody don't need a struggle story to say yes to God. Like, that's just not what it is. Like, y'all gonna count out so many people that can bless y'all or bless the people that y'all serve because y'all want this grand story that's rooted in trauma and survival, when God operates in so many more ways. So don't let nobody spiritually gaslight you. Um, because your calling is validated by your fruit, not their feelings. Three, um, the nobody test, I'm trying to tell y'all, the nobody test is your greatest protection. When people think you are a nobody, that's when you really see their true character. People put on facade for people that have these titles and these roles, who have these high ranks in the military, who's in high positions at their jobs. They put on a facade, they put on a face. But when you go in there, like, okay, how you gonna act when you think I'm the janitor? When you think I just park the cars? Like, how are you gonna act? That's when you know, okay, I'm safe here. And lastly, your skills are not depending on a system. One of the things that this white chaplain, he was a white male chaplain, he told me, he said, I hate that you're getting out because I know I can get you endorsed by my endorser. So I hate that you're getting out, but your gifts, your talents, your calling, your skills is not just for the army. That when you get out, you're going to do bigger and better things, and that God's calling is still on you. And it's crazy because now I look back and I'm like, wow, I went to this church with doubt. Like, did I hear God right in my calling? And every Sunday is an important Sunday, but in church you have those high Sundays where you're like, you got to be on point because the sanctuary is going to be filled on Sunday. So you can't be fluffing around like Easter, Palm Sunday, Christmas, like those Sundays. You get the right people to preach. He was asking me to preach on those Sundays, and I was like, I called my mentor, like, he asked me to preach this Sunday. Like, she's like, well, praise God. That's the high. I know. I'm scared. Like, me. And my mentor was like, yeah, you can do this. He called me. He allowed me to be the youth minister at the church. I prayed at the Panthers game for the invocation. Like, and then I also did pastor. So it's like, even though people will tell you no, even though they will reject you, the way that God allows your skills and your talents and your gifts and your calling to be used is still beyond your wildest dreams. And I can honestly say, a lot of times the things that you were rejected from, while they are a protection for you, but also because I don't have to worry about going to nobody's war, but also um, all the things that you learn there, you can use outside. All the things I learned in chaplaincy, the ministry of presence, not trying to change people, faith in their background, meeting them where they are, being able to have conversations, answering the hard questions when people don't understand, instead of getting defensive and arguing about faith, understanding where they're coming from. I wouldn't be able to do that if I wasn't in the military with people that come from a variety of religion backgrounds. So, sometimes I have to make sure I remind my clients that um, the system can take your title, your position, but they can't take your talent. They can't take your calling. They can't take your gifts. And those parts of you is what makes you exclusive, not the institution. And I get it. Institutional betrayal, it could be traumatizing. It's very hurtful. It pushes you out of your window of tolerance. So, what is the window of tolerance? The window of tolerance is where whenever trauma, stressors, conflict, when it happens, I can deal and I can tolerate with this much. But with institutional betrayal, sometimes it either takes you into hyper arousal, which is more on the anxiety side, where you may be angry, you may get frustrated, you may be more witty with your words, very short with your words. Emails may be a little more petty than normal. Or you may go to the hypo arousal side where that leads more into depression. So you isolate, you shut down. You may even say, like, I just want to quit. I don't want to do this anymore. Institutional betrayal sometimes is where you have to really dig deep and understand that there are coping skills that you have to adjust or learn so that you can go back into your window of tolerance or expand the window of tolerance. That's sometimes what suffering is about, expanding that window of tolerance. But I want to add another layer because a lot of times when we have these moments where we're out of our window of tolerance, we try to just shove it under the rug. We don't want to feel it. And when it comes to institutional betrayal, grief is huge. You're going to grieve not getting the position. It's okay to grieve not being promoted. It's okay to grieve someone not seeing your value or your worth. It's okay to grieve those things. Cry, be angry, throw something, not at a person. Go to an axe throwing thing or something. Throw an axe. Go to the gun range, shoot it out. Whatever you need to do. But you got to allow yourself to honor and acknowledge those feelings of disappointment, those feelings of frustration, those feelings of hurt, and not just say, I don't care, it's whatever. They didn't deserve me anyway, and trying to be nonchalant about it, knowing it's bothering you. It's okay to admit that. Because the thing about it is God will allow people to crucify you just so he can resurrect you in a better position. And a lot of times these institutions, when they crucify us, we feel like we will never become better. We hold on to the things that they said and the things that they did as if their opinion is the ultimate like decision making the fact, when it's not. It's not. So it's okay to grieve. It's okay to feel those feelings. It's okay to sit in the stuff for a moment before you get back up, so that when you do get back up, you can operate in a place that is healed, that is whole, that is ready to do the work. I am Tierra Burns, and you have just listened to Exclusively You. Like, comment, follow, and subscribe for more.